Right, I'm here today with a shoe that I've been enjoying quite a lot. So it's the Freet Feldom 2. And I had the original Feldom. Let me find that. The original Feldom right here. And this is version 2 of the Feldom. To be honest, they're actually quite similar in the end, but I'm going to get into that with the fit, the feel, and the durability of the Feldom and try and find out, is it the right shoe for you? So off the bat, let's talk about the fit. So this is a Freet shoe, and Freet shoes are known for their wide toe box and their deep and wide fit. This is one reason why I love it as a barefoot option, is because it gives your toes a lot of room to splay out, and it's nicely squared off around this big toe area. So if you do splay out that big toe quite a lot, it works really, really well for that. And it also works quite well for those people that have been barefoot for a while, likely because their feet, well, they actually grow a little bit, they gain a bit of muscle, and they start filling out their shoes quite a bit. They end up with a wider foot and also a deeper foot as well. And that's where Freet come in general. This is a wider fit and a deeper fit. So if you've had issues with some other barefoot brands where there's too much pressure over the top of the foot over here, then it's likely not deep enough for you. One brand that can help there is Zero Shoes, although not the widest, but Freet is another one that can help here. This is a really forgiving fit. You can even see that actually for me, it's maybe a bit too deep. I'm having to cinch these in quite a bit to actually get a good fit out of these. And I also put an Ultra insole in there because that's a little bit thicker and it fills out the volume of the shoe a bit more. So just keep that in mind. If you do have a shallow foot, it's not going to fit you very well. If that is you, maybe look towards a Vivo Barefoot instead. For the heel, it's similar again. It's really deep in there. It's quite forgiving as well. So if you've ever found other brands to have really narrow heels, or you're not getting a lockdown because you're not sitting far enough into the heel, like far enough down here, then well, Freet could actually help you there. You do sit quite far into the shoe, and if you use a lace lock like I do, you actually get a really good lockdown. And this is why I think I keep actually going back and reaching for the shoe, is because if I'm going on a long distance run, then I want comfort, and comfort is definitely what the Freet shoe gives you. So it's been pretty interesting in that aspect. It's worth noting that I would say it's true to size, but specifically in the EU sizing. So I'm normally a EU 42, 42 and a half-ish in most other brands, and the Feldom 2 worked absolutely fine in a 42 for me. If you convert that to the US sizing, at least by their standards, that's a US 8 men's. That's not what I wear in most other brands, so don't let that confuse you too much. What I would say is look at one of your other shoes if you have a different brand, look at the EU sizing, and then choose that EU sizing from Freet. Failing that, maybe have a look at their sizing guide online, because that actually gives you lengths of foot and lengths of shoes, at least anyway, and it could give you a good idea of what you should be buying. So how does this shoe feel? So the big thing about this Feldom 2 is it's super duper flexible. It rolls, it bends, it goes in every which direction, and basically allows your foot to do what it should do. And that's pretty cool, because this is actually kind of an aggressive shoe in terms of the outsole. These are 4mm lugs here. The lug pattern is very interesting. I quite like it because it does well in the mud, but it's actually still got good surface area as well. So if you do hit those harder packed surfaces, it doesn't wear down too quickly. So I really like that combination of the two. Also, back to the flexibility, because there's these gaps in between the lugs, it does a good job of flexing as well between the lugs. It doesn't stiffen up the outsole at all. And it creates a really interesting feel underfoot in general. It does feel like there's a little cushioning. Obviously, there's 4mm of rubber here. You've also got a little bit of rubber through there. I think it comes to around 10mm if you have the insole in there. So it's not like super low to the ground, but it's also quite minimal anyway. But at the same time, it's like kind of cushioned and flexible at the same time. So it's a really interesting feel, and it feels like your foot is doing the right thing with a little bit of cushioning. I like that. I really do like that feel. It's worth talking about this new mesh here. So this is the major difference on the Feldom 2, is the upper material changed just slightly. So it's kind of a very thin mesh over the top of like a foam kind of material. It's kind of strange actually. So I'm not so sure that this is perfect for a trail shoe, especially around durability. I worry if I do scrape this against a rock, it could create a hole. So I'm not so sure about that. If we look at the older version, the Feldon 1, this is like a rip stop kind of material. If I scrape this, I don't think that's going to break at all. The other thing you may see as well is that there's a few more overlays on the Feldon 1 compared to the Feldon 2. So in general, I think it's actually going to be the durability of the shoe that's changed a bit. But where that upper does excel is the ability to actually dry out quicker. So it may hold on to a little bit of water, but it will dry quite quick. Whereas this older material seemed like it wouldn't drain that well. So if you're going to go through water at any point or going to get wet at any point, well, this Feldon 2 is likely going to be a bit better in that instance. So lastly, the durability of the Feldon 2. Well, the outsole, we already know. It's the same outsole as we've seen before. And like I said, it does a really good job of balancing between something with grip, but then a bigger surface area to stop that wear becoming an issue too quickly. So it actually does a really good job, and I really enjoy this outsole. The upper, well, it depends where you take it. Like I said, I am a little bit concerned about this upper material, the new upper material here. And if you do end up scratching against rocks, then it could scrape, and I'm not so sure. Around the toes here, obviously, it's covered by the overlays. So you're probably not going to have an issue there. And it's worth noting that the rubber does actually extend up a little bit higher as well. So if you do kick a rock at all, then you are protected a little bit. The laces, the kind of these old school laces, they'll do a good job. They'll be okay. And the eyelets are reinforced all the way down with this overlay. So you will not wear through these at all. You're not going to rip through them. This is a very standard and good design. And all of these overlays are welded on. So I don't really see these peeling away. I didn't actually have an issue with them peeling away on the Feldon 1, so I assume it's going to be pretty similar on the Feldon 2. So as a conclusion, it's kind of simple to actually say why you would want this shoe. It is a trail shoe that actually does well in the mud, but then it's not too aggressive and could go on the harder packed surfaces if you wanted it to. It's also that wider, deeper fit that we see from Freet. And if that is your foot, if you have a wider foot, if you have a foot with a lot of volume, then to be honest, just go and have a look at Freet and look at all their options, because they will do wonders for you in comparison to other shoes. If you're running on the trails or you're walking on the trails and you do want that ground feel and that flexibility, but still have that grip, this is a no-brainer. If you're going into some more muddy fields, some really, really deep mud, then have a look at the Calva or the Calva 2 instead. This has a lot deeper lugs with a lug pattern which is wider apart, still has the flexibility in there, but you've just got to remember that these will wear down a little bit quicker if you're going to take these on harder surfaces. And that's why I think the Feldom does a good job of balancing between the two. It's a really good option for that. And coming in at $110, we don't see any price increases at all here, which is always good to see. But it is worth saying that if you can pick up the Feldon 1 on offer, which I think it is at right now, then it is still a decent choice. I don't think there's actually too much difference between the shoes. Like I said, it's the upper that has changed very slightly, but I'd say the Feldon 1 does a decent job too.